स्तोत्र सत अभय चरण अरविंद भक्ति वेदांता स्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय। इस्कॉन फाउंडर आचार्य बीबीटी फाउंडर आचार्य शील प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमनंदी हरि हरि बोल। ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द assembled devotees, हरे कृष्ण। ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द assembled devotees, हरे कृष्ण। All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. So we continue reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 4. Vidura approaches Maitreya. Text 30. Asmalokad uparate Mai jnanam mad ashrayam Arhati uddhava evadha Samprati atmavatam varaha Asmalokad uparate Mai jnanam mad ashrayam Arhati uddhava evadha Samprati atmavatam varaha Asmalokaduparate Mai jnanam mad ashrayam Arhati uddhava evadha Samprati atmavatam varaha. Please chant. Asmalokan purate Mai jnanam madashrayam Arhati uddhava evadha Samprati atmavatam varaha. Asmalokaduparate Mai jnanam madashrayam Samprati atmavatam varaha. Asmalokaduparate Mai jnanam madashrayam Arhati uddhava evadha Samprati atmavatam varaha. Thank you, bro. Asmalokaduparate Mai jnanam madashrayam अर्हति उद्धवाय बाधा सम्प्रति आत्मवतां वरा अस्माल्लोकादुपरते मयि ज्ञानं मदाश्रयम् अर्हति उद्धव एवाधा सम्प्रति आत्मवतां वरा अस्माल्लोकादुपरते मयि ज्ञानं मदाश्रयम् अर्हति उद्धव एवाधा सम्प्रति आत्मवतां वरा. Mataji's questions. अस्माल्लोकादुपरति मयि ज्ञानं मदाश्रयम् अर्हति उद्धव एवाधा सम्प्रत्यात्मवतां वरा अस्माल्लोकादुपरते मयि ज्ञानं मदाश्रयम् अर्हति उद्धव एवाधा सम्प्रति आत्मवतां वरा. Word to word, please repeat. Asmat, from this universe. Lokat, earth. Uparate, having disappeared. Mai, of myself. Jnanam, knowledge. Mat ashrayam, concerning myself. Arhati, deserves. Uddhava, Uddhava. Eva, certainly. Adha, directly. Samprati, at the present moment. Atmavatam, of the devotees. Varaha, foremost. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charan Arvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Now I shall leave the vision of this mundane world, and I see that Uddhava, the foremost of my devotees, is the only one who can be directly entrusted with knowledge about me. Purport. Jnanam mad ashrayam is significant in this verse. Transcendental knowledge has three departmental divisions, namely knowledge of impersonal Brahman, knowledge of the all-pervading Supersoul, and knowledge of the personality of Godhead. Out of the three, transcendental knowledge of the personality of Godhead has special significance and is known as Bhagavat Tattva Vijnana, specific knowledge of the personality of Godhead. This specific knowledge is realized by pure devotional service and no other means. Bhagavad Gita 18:55 confirms this. Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tattvata. Only persons engaged in devotional service can factually know the transcendental position of the Lord. Uddhava was considered to be the best amongst all devotees of that time, and therefore he was directly instructed by the Lord's grace, so that people might take advantage of Uddhava's knowledge after the disappearance of the Lord from the vision of the world. This is one of the reasons why Uddhava was advised to go to Badrik Ashram, where the Lord is personally represented by the Nara Narayan deity. One who is transcendently advanced can gain direct inspiration from the temple deity, and thus a devotee of the Lord always takes shelter of a recognized temple of the Lord in order to make tangible advancement in transcendental knowledge by the grace of the Lord. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo. So I seek blessings of all my superiors here for this wonderful opportunity to be discussing Bhagavatam in such an exalted association. So this like after the continuation of the conversation between Sukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj, after they have concluded a portion of the talks between Vidura and Maitreya, and then Parikshit Maharaj asked him a question. Everyone kind of was arranged to leave, all the Yadus. So how is it? Only Uddhava was to stay back by himself. So this was the question Parikshit Maharaj asked, and now Sukadeva Goswami is responding to that question. And we're gonna hear more verses on this response from Sukadeva Goswami. Why was it that Uddhava stayed back? So we can, one very important point here that I got was about being entrusted with confidential knowledge. And we know in Krishna personally, he gave a lot of instructions to Uddhava, which is known as Uddhava Gita. And he was personally asked by Krishna to take this message to the devotees in Badrik Ashram. So one may question this, that how is it one can be entrusted with this kind of confidential knowledge? And we can understand this point very easily by understanding the example of Arjuna. Arjuna was imparted this lesson of Bhagavad Gita by Krishna. And what was the reason Krishna personally gave? Why did he impart this knowledge to Arjuna? So, two reasons that Krishna personally gave was that he found Arjuna as a very friendly person, and also he was a devotee. Bhakto chame sakha eti. So Arjuna is friendly and he is a devotee. Now, I was reading the purport to this verse. I'll just read a couple of lines or a few lines. They are very interesting, and how Srila Prabhupada, he's making it so easy to understand. What kind of person can understand this kind of knowledge? So Srila Prabhupada is describing this, the purport. There are two classes of men, namely the devotee and the demon. The Lord selected Arjuna as the recipient of this great science, owing to his being a devotee of the Lord. But for the demon, it is not possible to understand this great mysterious science. So this is very confidential. And Krishna himself says this, Rahashyam hi etad uttamam. It's very mysterious and it's completely transcendental. It cannot be understood by someone who is not, who is on a material conscious platform. So to understand this, one has to come to that platform. What does it mean to come to that platform? We will hear in next few verses about Uddhava, why Uddhava was able to understand this knowledge. Relating to our present situation, we can understand how is it possible is one has to become free from the influence of three modes of nature. That's what we'll be hearing, how Uddhava was completely free from the influence of the modes of nature. And that's why Krishna chose Uddhava as the perfect recipient of this mysterious science to impart it to others who can take advantage of this knowledge. So, in chapter 14 of the Gita, Krishna, he calls it as more confidential than whatever he has spoken previously. And he actually says that so many great sages, they have attained perfection by understanding this. So in our own situation also, we can reflect on this point. How much are we free from the influence of these three modes of nature? And to that degree, we can see that's how much advancement we have made. Because to the degree we are influenced, to that degree we are still covered. Our spiritual consciousness is still covered. And to the degree we have become free from the influences, to that degree we have transcended our situation. Just a couple more lines here. There are a number of editions of this great book of knowledge. Some of them have commentaries by the devotees, and some of them have commentaries by the demons. It's interesting how Srila Prabhupada is calling other commentators the demons. Commentation by the devotees is real, whereas that of the demons is useless. Arjuna accepts Sri Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and any commentary on the Gita following in the footsteps of Arjuna is real devotional service to the cause of this great science. The demoniac, however, do not accept Lord Krishna as he is. Instead, they concoct something about Krishna and mislead general readers from the path of Krishna's instructions. Here is a warning about such misleading paths. One should try to follow the disciplic succession from Arjuna and thus be benefited by this great science of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So we can see how Srila Prabhupada is able to speak with so much conviction and so much clarity, so much certainty that one who is following this uh, tradition of parampara, that's the first verse of this chapter. Krishna says, Evam parampara praptam. So one who is following this tradition of teachers, spiritual masters, coming in line from Krishna, then that knowledge can be received perfectly and its effect can be seen. We can personally see in our own lives how we are engaged in devotional service in such times, and how we have given up many activities that are kind of seemingly impossible to give up on for most ordinary people, no matter how much they try. So unless one comes to devotional service, practically engage in devotional service, it is not possible to become free from the influence of these modes of nature. And that's what we are seeing in life of Uddhava. Especially we heard when Maitreya Vidura approaches Uddhava, just by hearing his question, Uddhava got into a trance. He totally lost sense of all his external situation, and he was like completely absorbed in remembering all the exchanges he had with the Lord. So we can see even the difference between situation of Uddhava and Arjuna. Arjuna wasn't always living with Krishna, but Uddhava since childhood, like from morning, the time he wakes up, that's the first thing he wanted to see, and he used to see. He would straight away go to see Krishna. And by the time till he goes to bed, he was with Krishna all day. So anything that Uddhava shares, that's like coming so personally, directly from Krishna. Of course, Arjuna also heard directly from Krishna, but we know how long did he hear it for, the Bhagavad Gita. But Uddhava, they are like same age, Uddhava and Krishna. And so Uddhava, he had so much personal association of Krishna. And not only that, Uddhava, Krishna would personally take counsel from Uddhava. This was Uddhava's adhikar of devotional service. So one point that's mentioned in this verse is being entrusted. How can one be entrusted with this kind of knowledge? One has to please the Lord to be able to impart that knowledge. And Krishna mentions this in the Bhagavad Gita itself. Someone who is completely absorbed in devotional service, mat chitta mat gat prana, one whose chitta, whose mind, whose heart is completely absorbed in thinking of Krishna, one whose life is completely dedicated to service of Krishna. So we have heard all these days discussing this pastime, how Uddhava, he didn't think of anything else other than Krishna. And he was all the time engaged in service to Krishna. And we can, relating to more recent examples, we can consider like the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. They were also personally imparted this knowledge by Lord Chaitanya, who is Krishna himself. And how they became absorbed is mentioned. They even gave up on eating and sleeping. I mean, honestly, how many of us can actually give up on eating and sleeping? So we can understand how even the difference, someone who is freed from the influences of nature, these are the kind of activities these personalities perform. They can simply be satisfied just by sitting in one place and chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. But for someone who is not in that consciousness, it's not recommended even as per the scriptures. They shouldn't just sit in one place and imitate the great acharyas, great devotees by just sitting and chanting in one place. For those kind of people, it's highly recommended to engage in practical devotional service. And just by engaging in that practical devotional service, one can gradually become free from these influences. And the more one becomes free from the influences, the more this mystery of this relationship, of these signs of this relationship with God will be revealed more and more. And that's how one develops inspiration. So the another point was about taking inspiration from the deity in the temple. Deity worship is so one of the 5 main important parts of devotional service. And we can take example of so many great devotees, so many personal exchanges with the deity. So being born in India, I always used to wonder, how is it possible? Like the deity, they can do all these wonderful, amazing things. I always used to wonder, is it really possible? Like these priests, they are offering food. Is deity gonna eat this food? All those kind of questions were always there. But getting a little bit of clarity now, chanting Hare Krishna, studying Bhagavad Gita, getting association of the devotees, I can appreciate that more and more. And I can understand that, yes, it's possible. But just like an ordinary person with ordinary vision, they cannot understand the deity is for real. Same way, unless one cultivates devotion, one cannot understand these things. How the deity is able to accept the offering of a devotee, and how those devotees are able to actually see that this offering is being accepted. We can take one example of Lord Chaitanya himself. He told his mother that, don't worry, I am always accepting the offerings you are making. So don't think I am too far from you. So there are so many exchanges like that. But one that I was like really amazed by was, it's in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Is it if someone can help me remember the name of this child, was he named Gopal Guru? The child? There is one pastime where there is this one devotee, he has to go away for some time, and he asked his son to make the offering to the deity. So his son was little child. He said, okay, I will do the offering. And very innocently he made the offering. And apparently the deity ate all the prasadam. So his father comes back and he asks him, oh, where is the prasad, Mahaprasad? And the child says, well, I thought you asked me to offer. And I offered it to the deity and he accepted it. So I don't have anything. And his father was like surprised, really? Like, I've been offering for so many days, he never accepted. How is it like you just did once and the deity accepted it? So this child, his father, he wanted to make sure it actually happened. And so his father asked the child to do it again, and he did it again. So father was like hiding and observing what's going on. He was really amazed. I'm surprised. I've been offering for so long, and it never happened to me. So this child again offered, and he actually begged. The deity wasn't really eating at first to the child's vision, and he was actually, this happened the first time. He was like crying, and he was like, please, my father asked me to offer this to you. If he sees the food is still there, he would think I didn't offer, and he would be very upset with me. So please kindly accept it. And the deity accepted. So when the father, he saw the child accept the offering, he was like so amazed. Wow, like my child, he has so much devotion that the Lord is so pleased to accept his offerings. So we can see, I think this was the child who was named as Gopal Guru, like the child who become a guru of his own father in one sense. Um, so it's based on one's devotion. Krishna, he was pleased with devotion of Arjuna, so he imparted the lesson of Bhagavad Gita to him. Same way with Uddhava. Uh, Uddhava actually wanted to go back with Krishna. He's like, I can't stay away from you. I want to go with you. And Krishna was like, no, 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 you can't go with me. You have to stay back. So this is how Krishna has very intimate dealings with his loving devotees. And to have those kind of experiences, one also has to cultivate that kind of intensive devotion, because that's when one can have experiences like this. Otherwise, we will continue to be whatever kind of devotional stage we are at, and it's very hard to make progress in that way if we just decide to continue like wherever we are at. Another easy way that can help increase this devotion is actually by taking shelter of these kind of devotees, especially like shelter of Srila Prabhupada, because we can see how many intimate exchanges with the deities Srila Prabhupada personally had. A couple of them I will share. Is one I remember is one time Srila Prabhupada, he was praying to the deity, and one of his disciples, he asked him, Srila Prabhupada, you are a pure devotee. What are you praying for? And Srila Prabhupada said, I am praying that Krishna, please protect me so that I may not fall down into the clutches of Maya. And he even mentioned that my students, they think they are so strong they cannot fall down. They don't have this healthy fear of falling back into the illusory energies traps. But Srila Prabhupada is teaching by his own example that how much we should take shelter of the deity. That's why the deity is there, to give us his mercy. But if we don't even approach the deity, if we don't ask for it, then it's like we ourselves are keeping us away from that mercy that is available. Another I remember is, which is there in the Lilamrita. So I think it happened here in New Dwarka. Srila Prabhupada, he didn't want to go back to India at certain time because the preaching in America was, and even other parts of Western world was increasing so amazingly that he wanted to spend more time to keep it going. But then the deity, was it Rukmini Dwarkanath, told Prabhupada that I have a temple for you in Vrindavan and you have to go back to India. And Prabhupada even argued that I don't want to go back. But then, deity told him, you have to go back. I want you to build this temple. And that's how Srila Prabhupada went back, and we see the Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan. So there is actually a string of verses. If someone want to find out more, it's in third canto, chapter 25, and actual verses are, I can't tell you exactly, like from 35. You can read till end of chapter. There's only four. I mean, about 5 or 6 verses. And there, Kapila Muni, he's speaking to his mother, Mother Devahuti, and he's personally revealing these secrets. So there are like so many different conversations, exchanges of Lord speaking with his devotees, and the deity speaking with the devotees also. Um, there is one verse that I kind of picked up where Kapila Muni is actually telling Mother Devahuti that, my dear mother, devotees who receive such transcendental opulences are never bereft of them. Neither weapons nor the change of time can destroy such opulences, because the devotees accept me as their friend, their relative, their son, preceptor, benefactor, and supreme deity. They cannot be deprived of their possessions at any time. I was thinking this is a very appropriate verse for what's going on around the world, especially with the situation between Ukraine and Russia. This is like amazing verse to read and reflect on what Krishna is saying here. Um, and for that matter, for anyone to meditate on. But from the purport, what I got was Srila Prabhupada is actually saying that when one takes to devotional service, then one has a relationship with Krishna, and one becomes equal in quality with Krishna. So one shares in qualitative opulences of Krishna, and that's what one does not leave, one does not lose, no matter what's changing on outside. Same thing we can see in life of Uddhava. He had all these opulences being bestowed on him by Krishna himself, and Krishna personally assured him that you are not losing anything. It's a win-win for you. But he did tell him that just engage all your time and energy in thinking about me and serving me. And that's what Uddhava is showing by his example. So we can also take a lot of inspiration from these great examples, and we can actually reflect more on life of Srila Prabhupada, how at such advanced stage he showed such a great example of engaging in devotion service. And we can personally think about it like, how can I take inspiration and how can I improve my own service in that way. So these were some of the points I got, but I'm sure other devotees have many deeper reflections and experiences and realizations. It is already time. I don't know if we can I stop here or someone wants to share some burning realization. Yes, Prabhu, it has to be a good one.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you for the class. I just wanted to. Gopal Guru was not the name of the devotee. The name of the devotee that did the offering today was Madhu.
Okay.
It was in Arlanath in Orissa.
It was?
It was the name of the deity was in Arlanath in Orissa.
Okay.
That's the deity that ate the prasadam.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's why I was asking. I can't really remember the name, so thank you for... Yes, sir.
I was wondering, why do we distribute Bhagavad Gita on a large scale, but we don't distribute Uddhava Gita?
Just like I think I tried to mention, but so there is this understanding. Most people, they don't even understand what's the basic difference between body and soul. So we can see Krishna's own presentation. That's what he starts Bhagavad Gita with. He first starts speaking about understanding the difference between body and soul. And then he goes, in middle 6 chapters of the Gita, he goes a bit more confidential about devotional service. And then, like I was telling, this chapter 14, it's Krishna personally saying, forget about the past. If you understand this, you like transcend. So there is different degrees of what you can give to people. So from what I understand from all these, even how the Bhagavatam, one has to go step by step from first canto, second canto, like that. Uddhava Gita is very advanced subject, very advanced descriptions of the topics being discussed in Bhagavad Gita. That is what I understood by reading and hearing from other great Vaishnavas.
So, well, Nectar of Devotion is also very high subject matter, also Krishna book, and we distribute those a lot.
Yeah, so Krishna book, Prabhupada personally translated, since people have so much love for reading fiction. So he was like, here you go, you can read about Krishna and get to know him personally. And that's a really good book to share with masses of people. So that way they get to know Krishna and become open to those kind of realities. And Nectar of Devotion, from what I have learned from my teachers, is generally recommended read after reading the Bhagavad Gita. That's what I would say, but maybe some other devotees can add to that.
Haribo, just some reflection. When you were mentioning about Uddhava's relationship with Krishna is so unique. He actually spent longer time more than Arjuna with Krishna. So I heard a tape where Prabhupada said that actually Uddhava is more advanced than Arjuna. He said that in the tape. And that also reminds me one verse that said, Krishna spoke, he says, Natata me priyatadma adma yonir na shankara nacha sankarshana nasrir naivadma jayate bhavam. He said, Lord Shiva, neither Lord Shiva nor Lord Balaram, his own brother, not even the goddess of fortune. And then he goes further to say, not even my own self is as dear as you. In this case, he said Uddhava. Mm-hmm. And then Gopi Paranadhana Prabhu mentions that actually also means any pure devotee that fits that category. How dear the pure devotees. And there are many other verses beautiful that describe the position of the devotees like that. Like in the case also Sudama Vipra, unique. And like that you can go on and on and on. Mention.
Thank you, Prabhu. I was thinking of this point. You see, Krishna, he even personally sent Uddhava to Vrindavan. Generally, even Vaikuntha devotees, they don't have access to Vrindavan. But we can see Krishna personally sending Uddhava to Vrindavan with confidential message to give to all different kind of confidential devotees. So he definitely had a much more intimate connection, understanding those kind of dealings, one would say. And also because I also heard this one, because Krishna, he had a plan to give this knowledge to Uddhava so Uddhava can impart to others. So he wanted Uddhava to get a personal experience of the mood of devotees in Vrindavan. So then he has the complete view of all different stages of bhakti, and then he has like a wholesome picture, like a full picture to share with others. So thank you. Okay, I guess we'll end here. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.